geht ihm so's länger noch bald.
Figure was one of the big folk, though not shaven like so many of his kind. His head was bowed. Big folk always struggled with dwarven ceilings, but he bowed even more than he needed to. The singing stopped, and all eyes, except the children's, turned to greet him. "I am Iam," the visitor announced, with a hint of nervousness to his voice. "I have come from the far north to learn from you and to perform." Ingi shouted, "Welcome, Iam," and approached him with a mug. "The last of the raspberry wine. Drink." Iam gingerly took the mug. He'd heard stories about dwarven drink and brought it to his lips. There was a cheer from the dwarves, and the introductions seemed to be done with. Iam was middle-aged, at least by human standards, barely grown by dwarven ones, and he had indeed come from the far north, the very far north. None of the dwarves had heard of his people. He brought with him a wide ceramic bowl, which he called an ulthor, which produced a pleasant ringing tone when struck. As he told it, he had been born a lowly potash maker, the only son of his parents, and now had 3 children. Following his divorce, only a few years ago, he'd met a master bard, which he called Niesik Shastonolust, and asked to be her apprentice. She'd taken him on, despite his age, and they'd travelled together for a time, gradually moving south and entering these lands. Alas, despite visiting to perform, he seemed mostly content to sit and listen to the dwarves. Their poetry, their songs and stories, their music. He didn't offer, very often, anything of his own, and for that the dwarves named him Shy Bard. He would always be welcome at Weatherspoons. Another stranger. The frog squelched its way into the tavern, its black eyes seeming to take in the scene before it. It was armed with a spear and a shield. It didn't announce itself, merely wandering through the tavern and taking a seat wherever it could watch the dancing. Frogs lived in the waters deep beneath the earth and often attacked exploring dwarves. It was whispered in the corners of Weatherspoons furthest from the frog that this was most likely where it had gotten its equipment. Frogs were known not to practice metalworking, and steel, in particular, was a uniquely dwarven craft. As it sat, silent, its black eyes cunning, the dwarves simply referred to it in hushed tones as the frog. All are welcome in Weatherspoons, of course. Some, though, more than others. So that's all she wrote for the time being. This is obviously a video which is very different from the kind of thing I usually do in like the comedic gameplay editing, edits of Overwatch and what have you. And it's a very, very short one. Really, the reason it's short is because it's a proof of concept, first and foremost. I really wanted to figure out how I'm going to make these videos going forwards, what the process is. Am I going to be, scripting everything that I want to say and then narrating over the top like that? Or am I going to be like freestyling, so to speak, and sort of refining that over a few takes and getting the tone right and all this stuff? So the majority of the challenge with this video was literally just that production stuff, figuring out how I want to make them. And going forwards, I do want them to be longer, not like super long, not like Krug Smash, 45 minutes long, but I do want them to be longer than, 4 minutes. I think like 20 might be a bit of a sweet spot. We'll see how that goes. So yeah, that's sort of all we've got for the time being. academic year is winding down a little bit now, so I've got more free time to dedicate to this sort of thing, and I'm actually really excited to get into this and see sort of the mad shit that unfolds in the world that we have created, especially now that adventure mode has come out as well. So we could potentially see, once I get a handle on adventure mode, I've never really played it before, but once I get a handle on it, that opens up a whole new dimension of, you know, storytelling potential, which is really what I want to focus on with these videos. So that's all she wrote. Thank you very much. Bye.